My grandmother was a pastor in the 1950s. She was my pastor. So I don't know anything about women can't preach, women can't lead. I was born in it. But I was a preacher without experience. I was sheltered. And so I came to Prince Gaithersburg to raise my 2 children, and I was invited to speak at a shelter, which I had never done before. I always preached in church. And I gave a good word, but the women were kind of like, okay. And I thought because of their situation, they should have been a little bit more inspired. So I had my fur coat in one hand, I had a brand new car outside, and I had like $10,000 worth of jewelry on, so I really couldn't hug anybody. I couldn't, because I was busy looking at my car, trying to figure out what my pocketbook was. So when I left, I was like, God, they don't want to change. He said, no, they didn't need you. I said, God, what do you mean? He says, so many of you use the preaching moment for your own throne. And I sent you to give them my message. I pulled over. It was my Damascus experience. You know how Paul was knocked off his horse and then he became a Saul and then he became Paul. That was my Damascus moment. I was saved, but I wasn't righteous. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference. And I cried so I couldn't drive. I had to keep pulling over. And then I went into 6 months of an epiphany with God where he just came in and he dealt with the pride, the arrogance. He dealt with ignorance of his word and the purpose of his word. And when I came out of that experience, I went to work every day. I had enough grace to do my job. I was a level 22 in the post office. But when I got home, I was no good. And my lights got cut off, electricity got cut off, water got cut off. I had the money, but I was dysfunctional. And I was like, what is going on? And God said, I want you to feel what they feel so that you can relate not out of pity, but out of compassion. And that's when the House of Health started. One of the young ladies that was at the homeless shelter when I preached got my number from someone and called me and said, can you help me? Not only was I willing, but I was able. Helping people is helping yourself. God's got you, and I think a lot of times people don't give as much as they could because they think if I give you everything I got, then what do I have? But God took care of me in that. So having a grandmother who was a woman who even the black men didn't even receive her, but she was strong and solid. I didn't see racism. I didn't see poor. I didn't see color. I saw the plan of God, and if you allow him, what he can do in your life. Now, have I had an occasion where I've had a little racism? Yes, but not enough to disturb my world. I saw ignorance, rebellion. I saw hurt, abuse. A lot of the women that were prostituting or women that came in was because they were molested. And they were hurting, and drugs was a sense of escaping. So once again, it's the ignorance of it, because it didn't make the situation better, it made it worse. So when they came, the first thing I had to give them was love. Okay, that's the first thing they needed, not judgmentalness and not pity. Then the second thing I had to give them after giving them love, I had to give them understanding as to what happened. I had to listen. I had to go all the way back to where their problem created, because I would notice people who were 9 years old when they was on drugs were different than the people who were 18 or 19. First we feed them, then we teach them how to fish, and then we teach them how to buy the pond. It's a process. I started taking anybody that wanted help. You don't have to be a preacher. You don't have to follow my ideologies. You don't have to do my philosophy. You don't even have to accept my religion. Accept my love.